A profound question that has puzzled many throughout history. Who really controls the world? Is it the president? Is it a billionaire we do not know the name of? Is it the deep state? Is it some sort of secret society? Is it the Illuminati? Is it some secret family? With all the chaos, disorder, and uncertainty we see around us, it's essential to understand the forces at play, especially as we witness the unfolding of global events, including elections and decisions that shape nations. We live in a world influenced by more than just the physical powers we see. The Bible makes it clear that there are spiritual beings, both good and evil, actively working behind the scenes, influencing the course of history and the affairs of humankind. These spirit beings, especially the fallen ones, have great sway over the world's systems, governments, and ideologies. The Bible refers to Satan as the god of this world, 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4. When the Bible assigns a title, it's essential to pay close attention. This title tells us something significant about Satan's influence. He has a level of control over the systems of this world, its ideologies, values, and even the very framework through which society operates. Satan's influence extends far beyond just tempting individuals. He shapes the very thoughts, philosophies, education, and commerce that influence millions. Satan is also called the prince of the power of the air in Ephesians 2, verse 2, and the ruler of this world, John 12, verse 31. These titles emphasize Satan's power and his ability to operate within the physical and spiritual realms to influence events on earth. However, it's important to clarify that Satan's power is not sovereign. He doesn't hold ultimate authority. Only God is sovereign. But Satan has been granted a measure of power during this age, and we would be wise not to underestimate it. One of the clearest demonstrations of Satan's control is in the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. In Luke 4, verse 5 to 7, Satan offers Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, saying, "I will give you all their authority and splendor. It has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to." Now, notice something important. Jesus does not refute Satan's claim. He doesn't say, "These kingdoms don't belong to you." Instead, Jesus simply refuses the offer. One of the most pervasive misconceptions in popular culture is the idea that Satan is somewhere in hell, sitting on a throne, wielding a pitchfork, and tormenting those in hell. This portrayal, though common in media and folklore, is far from what the Bible actually teaches. Contrary to this image, the Bible paints a very different picture of Satan's current location and activity. According to Scripture, Satan is not confined to hell. Rather, he is here on earth, actively working to deceive and destroy. The Bible clearly states that Satan prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5, 8. This passage alone dismantles the myth that Satan is locked away in hell, detached from the events of this world. Instead, it makes it evident that Satan is present and engaged in the spiritual warfare happening all around us. Moreover, Revelation 12, verse 12, warns that Satan has come down to earth with great wrath, knowing that his time is short. This is not some far-off future event, but an ongoing reality. The rejection of the gospel, the growing trend of sin, and the passage of laws that seem to defy God's principles are all signs of his influence in the world today. The increasing hostility toward Christian values and the moral decay we see across various cultures are not merely the result of political decisions or secret societies pulling the strings behind the scenes. The love of the satanic you see in music and movies is not to do with some secret society or the Illuminati or whatever label you want to give it. The Bible tells us that Satan, the father of lies, is the one influencing these trends. Ephesians 6, verse 12, reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This indicates that while human beings have a fallen nature and are capable of great evil on their own, there is also an undeniable satanic force at work in the world, intensifying the battle. What we are witnessing in our world today is the culmination of Satan's agenda. He thrives in the confusion, disorder, and rebellion against God's truth. While human beings have free will and bear responsibility for their actions, the Bible makes it clear that Satan plays a significant role in leading humanity astray. From the Garden of Eden, where he tempted Eve, to the present day, his mission has been to deceive and turn people away from God. We must remember that Satan is not an abstract idea or merely a symbol of evil. He is a real being, actively working in this world to undermine God's kingdom. Understanding that Satan is here on earth and not in some distant place of torment helps clarify why the world is in such a state of chaos. It's not just human nature or the result of political systems failing. It's the direct influence of a malevolent spiritual being who seeks to blind people to the truth of the gospel and keep them in bondage to sin. We are not dealing with a passive enemy, but an active and cunning adversary who has been given a measure of influence over this present age. What does this teach us? It teaches us that Satan does indeed have control over the kingdoms of this world, its governments, economies, and power structures. This influence is still present today, which means Satan can and does manipulate these systems for his own purposes. The greed, corruption, and injustices we see in the world today often have a spiritual root. Consider the example of corporate greed. Look at the case of the EpiPen, a life-saving device for people with severe allergies. The stark contrast between the relatively low manufacturing cost of around $20 to $30 and the high retail price of up to $600 shows how greed can take precedence over human life. Companies drastically inflate prices, exploiting vulnerable people who depend on these products to survive. This is more than just corporate mismanagement. This is the manifestation of a deeper, darker force, a satanic greed. This greed is not just a random occurrence. It is part of a larger spiritual battle where the forces of darkness seek to exploit human suffering for profit. We must understand that behind these greedy practices is a spiritual force pushing for control, for power, and for the manipulation of lives. And this satanic greed doesn't stop at one product. It extends into many sectors of society. Another example of this satanic control is seen in the concentration of power over resources. Who are some of the largest farmland owners in the United States today? Bill Gates, a man who made his fortune in technology, is now one of the largest private owners of farmland in America. Gates has amassed more than 270,000 acres of farmland. Ask yourself, why would a man who built his career in computers and software suddenly need control over vast amounts of agricultural land? Consider this deeply. When you control the food supply, you control people. By owning large tracts of farmland, Gates has influence over what is grown, how it is distributed, and what people consume. This isn't just an investment, it's a form of control. And when you pair this control with influence over healthcare, as Gates has through various philanthropic ventures, you begin to see how certain individuals can shape not just the technology we use, but the very essentials of life, food and medicine. But this influence is not limited to one man. Satan uses these avenues, control over food, health, and resources, as tools to shape the world according to his desires. He is attempting to mold the world in his image, a world driven by greed, power, and oppression. Beyond greed and control, Satan's influence is evident in the moral decay of society. Today, we live in a world where sin is not only tolerated but celebrated. There are things happening in our nation that would shock even the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Laws are being passed that endorse immorality, and the lines between right and wrong are being blurred. This moral decay is a direct result of Satan's influence as the god of this world. He twists the truth and leads people into deception, causing them to embrace what is evil and reject what is good. The Bible warns us about this in Isaiah 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. This confusion and moral inversion are all part of Satan's plan to lead humanity away from God. He knows his time is short, and he is working harder than ever to corrupt and deceive the nations. But we must remember, despite Satan's influence, he does not have the final say. Though Satan may be the god of this world, for now, his reign is temporary. The Bible tells us that his time is short, and he knows it. In Revelation 12, verse 12, we read, Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. Satan's ultimate defeat is already sealed. Jesus Christ has won the victory through his death and resurrection, and Satan's destiny is to be bound for 1,000 years during the millennial kingdom and ultimately cast into the lake of fire for eternity. Revelation 20, verse 10. His power is temporary, and though he may have influence now, It is limited by God's sovereign plan.